Hi guys, I'm Tommy B, and this is my web series slash show that I'm going to call Conform or Not. The premise of the show is to simply just promote an open-minded viewpoint and perspective about controversial things and topics. I will be looking for and recruiting people to be a part of the show that don't have um, a fear of being on camera or expressing their viewpoints, whether you be white, black, blue, whatever the case is. The whole premise of this show is to promote, like I said, open-mindedness. I have to stress that this show is completely non-judgmental. Your opinion is your opinion, and because it is your opinion, we shouldn't view it as a right or a wrong way of thinking, just only as if you agree or disagree. Enjoy the show, and here we go.
Hi, my name is Brian Albert, and I consent to, I guess, this video going on YouTube
There you
or
go.
Lanisha Green, I do consent to this video being recorded. Rashawn Grant, and I do consent to the filming or being filmed in this video as long as I get to review the final edit before it is posted.
Racism, in your own opinion.
racism is, I think it's structural. It's something that can be used as a system to keep another type of people, or say I'm black and this person is white, keep my people or this person separate, or say that my race is better than someone else's, or that there's an advantage or disadvantage to having one race over another.
Racism, in my opinion, is basically just categorizing ourselves and saying a certain group is considered such and such, and a certain group is considered this or that. Racism is biased based on certain factors of different humans, I guess, different categories of humans. Yeah, just personal bias, I guess.
The definition of racism is the belief that all members of each race possess characteristics or abilities specific to their race, especially so as to distinguish it as an inferior or superior to another race. Do you feel that your personal opinion of that definition correlates to theirs?
I feel like that better illustrates what I wanted to say. I agree wholeheartedly. Is saying that one race is more advantageous than another. So yeah.
Okay.
No, I don't. I don't feel like it's similar. Everything is looked at differently. Uh, we all have our things as far as just kind of based on what we're talking about. This topic is based on opinions. We all have our different opinions on how we think things should be seen. And yeah, I guess they went a little deeper. Basically, I'm saying.
Now, how do you feel racism can be countered or stopped? Do you feel it could come by violence, peacefulness?
I believe racism can be quelled, I guess, by any means. I mean, sometimes battles are won in history with violence, battles are won in history through peace. By any means necessary, you can basically defeat the dragon. I feel like if your motives or if your way of going about doing so is strong enough or it gets your message across good enough, the opposition will always listen.
I think it can be stopped by us not categorizing ourselves, not categorizing ourselves as human beings, as Americans, as women, men, kids, and stuff like that. Not categorizing ourselves by race or sexual orientations and stuff like that. And I feel like, uh, based on that, it can go peacefully if we don't, categorize ourselves. I really don't think racism can end. Honestly, I think that if we all were the exact same, people, if we had the same, skin color, for example, then people would be judged based on their eye color or how long their hair is or their hair color. And I think it's just human nature to pick up on differences.
You're gonna look at somebody and look at yourself and see some type of difference. And it's human nature to alienate or to, try to treat things favorably that you understand or that you recognize or that you identify with. So I don't think.
All right. Next topic. What is fact, in your opinion?
The truth. Fact is something that you can back up, something that has been tested and proven, something that is without a doubt undeniably true.
My opinion is based on something that has been proven through various uh, through various uh, I guess tests and things like that. Something that has been noted that this is what it is.
A fact is something that can be proven. Definitely can be proven with some type of science behind it. Yeah, that's what a fact is.
It's a specific detail that is true based on objective proof. And objective proof is information that is based on facts that can be proved through analysis, measurement, observation, and other such means of research. So my question to you is, the shirt you are wearing, would you consider it black?
Yes, I would.
Would you say it's in fact black?
Based on the Webster's definition and my definition, I would, because the Webster's definition says unbiased or objective. So multiple people could say this shirt would be black and it could be proven to be true. And I agree that it's black.
Okay. Now, if I was to say that I felt that that shirt was midnight black, would my opinion be fact as well? Or would it be wrong based upon your fact?
It wouldn't be wrong. It would be something that would have to be tested. Midnight black and black, who's to say that those aren't two different things? Black can be general. Of course, they're different shades. So it's
So,
up for debate.
so because they are different shades, that makes them different.
No,
So because they are different shades, they're still the same. It is still the same
right.
color.
Like you can be light skinned and dark skinned and still be black.
But because they are specifically labeled as different colors, wouldn't that make them different?
Depending on what your test proves, it has
Like
to be tested.
like a color red and scarlet. Technically, they are red, but scarlet is a different shade of red. So would scarlet not be red?
It's a version of red.
So it would be fact that it would be red.
Right.
So would both of those be considered a fact?
Yeah.
But if red, if it's a fact that it is red, then it should be disputable by your definition, by Webster's definition. But we both just disputed that it could be a different shade
But
of
it's
red.
still red. Whether it's a different shade of red or a different kind of red, it goes under that red umbrella. It's still
So it
red.
goes under the category.
Right.
But the definition of of it being different is that it is not the current thing. It is something else.
So then it's relative.
But you
And
argue
facts are
that it
not
was still,
relative.
but you argue that it was a fact.
I think that where this is going is that things can be argued based on relativity. So whether it's black, midnight black, blue black, is dependent upon the scenario it's placed in. So it can be factual in different scenarios. But you're right. That does go back to my original argument that a fact cannot be disputed, but it can be based on relativity.
So if I was to ask you what color your shirt was, what would you say?
I would say white.
If I was to say that that shirt, in my opinion, is pearl,
Hmm.
would your statement be a fact and considered right, or would mine be considered a fact and right?
Well, based on what we were taught from school and something we kind of touched on earlier is that we were kind of like told to us that this is white, that's black, this is brown. You know what I'm saying? You have different uh, versions of white. You have different versions of uh, red. You know what I'm saying? You have different versions of things. So I would say that, yeah, it's white based on what I think, yeah.
Okay. So even though the definition of a fact is that it is indisputable, your shirt would still be considered white and only white. Although we can dispute whether or not, in my opinion, or anyone else's opinion, that it is potentially a different color.
Like, say that again. Say that again.
By going from the definition of what a fact is, which is
Uh-huh.
a thing that is indisputable,
Yeah.
are you saying that because it is taught that that particular color is white, that is indisputable, even though I can dispute it by saying that it is a different
Mhm.
variation of white?
Mhm. Well, yeah, I would just say that that's just your opinion. You know what I'm saying? Everybody can say what they want. You know what I'm saying? That's how you feel that it's a different of white. So then that goes back to, fact. It's not proven. It can't be measured that, you said it's by measurement or whatever like that. So it can't be measured that this is white or this is eggshell white or pearl white or whatever like that. So it can't be measured of the whiteness. So I would say white.
Okay. And is what color?
It's like a blood orange.
So would you say that it is fact that it's blood orange?
Uh, no. I think personally, certain things are like, okay, we all human, right? So to a certain degree, we're gonna see things the same. Our bodies kind of work the same, but there are occasions where people um, may interpret things differently. So, for example, I know that color, right, is a reflection of the light, right? So it's like my shirt has a tint to it that absorbs certain rays from the light or whatever, and so whatever gets reflected is the color. But if your eyeballs, right, if you are colorblind, or maybe you don't, maybe your eyes can't interpret light the same way that everybody else does, you might see it being different. Also, we on the camera right now, so the software may interpret my shirt to be a little different. To me, it's blood orange. You know, somebody else may see it as red. Actually, I did at first. I wasn't sure if it was red or orange at one point in time, but I got a partner that's colorblind. I think he can't see red and green. So this would really mess with. It's not really red to him, but it was. I think he would see it a different shade than what I would see it. So um, I don't know. That's a hard question because I know scientifically we can measure how much light is being reflected by things, but I think the spectrum is still, I don't know, up for interpretation. I don't really know. So I kind of don't think it's a fact, but I may be wrong.
What is opinion?
Opinion is like a hypothesis. Like a hypothesis, it's something that can be disproved. It's something that is based generally on one person or several people that has not been proven based on an objective set of tests.
Okay.
uh, Opinion is just based on what someone says, what my thoughts are, what your thoughts are. That's opinion. It's not being tested. It's not nothing that is concrete.
Okay.
Opinion is, I guess, someone's personal beliefs about something. That's the best way I can put it right now.
The Webster definition of opinion: a view or judgment formed about something, not necessarily based on fact or knowledge.
Mhm.
So if I was to say that again, that shirt is blue, would you say that my opinion is wrong?
Under normal circumstances, yes, I would say that your opinion is wrong, but I feel like that goes back to the fact and the fact versus opinion thing where you're testing to see if it's right. That opinion doesn't need to be tested. Under regular pretenses or any group of people in the room, multiple people will tell you this shirt is black.
Hmm.
Now you can say it's blue or it's a shade of blue. It might be midnight blue, whatever you may think is black under the circumstances of that relative situation.
So because it's my opinion, then it could be a fact.
If proven so.
And how would it be proven?
Tests, unbiased or objective testing
And
based on a group of people or peoples. That's basically what society is. Nobody can say what is or what isn't. It's all a test based on personification.
so if everything is a test based on what someone else says, wouldn't that be everyone just testing another person's opinion?
Correct.
So wouldn't that mean that something that is considered a fact is really just agreed upon opinion?
Yep. Well, it's a fact because it can't be disproven. It can be relative, but it can't be disproven. I know for a fact that, let's see, actually all facts are relative. I was gonna give you one, but all facts are relative.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
So all facts are opinions that are just agreed upon.
Mhm.
Okay.
We
Last.
we know this to be true to the extent of 99.9%. Or whatever that other 0.1% is, we'll figure it out when we get there.
Circling back to the white shirt again, your opinion is that it is clearly white.
Right.
My opinion is that it might be pearl.
Hmm.
So, because it is your opinion that it is white, would that kind of discredit it being a fact? If a fact is indisputable, but your opinion is not necessarily based off fact on what color it is.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how to really answer that, but
Answer the best way you can. If you want to just leave it as you don't know, that's perfectly fine.
yeah.
Going back to the color of your shirt, you said that you wasn't positively sure that it was indeed blood orange because of everyone's different perspective of it, basically their opinions.
Right.
So if your opinion varies from mine, would either one of our opinions be a fact, or would they just be opinions that multiple people might agree to?
Well, I think that general consensus on a subject has weight. I don't know if they may use the term fact, but unless we scientifically measure, like I said, the amount of light that's being absorbed or reflected and put it on some type of spectrum that tells you exactly what color it is, I think people, when it comes to something like color, kind of it's kind of subjective. I keep thinking like if a person was involved in some type of crime and the witness had to describe the assailant, and the police always say, well, how tall was the person, what color was the person, what were they wearing. So people always try to be like, oh, he had a black hoodie on, so maybe the hoodie was dark blue, but it was a dark colored hoodie. A lot of times they'll say, oh, we're looking for an assailant in a dark colored SUV, because you don't know if it's midnight blue, black, green, or whatever, but it gets you in that family. And so I don't know if they present that as a fact. I don't think they do, because they try to keep it very general. So I don't think something like a color um, ordinarily can be considered a fact, because there's so many different shades of it and the way people interpret it. But like at a when you're learning, though, when you're a kid, kids don't understand how things can not necessarily be one thing or another. So we all get taught the spectrum or the primary color, so that we can have a basis, going forward, so we all be on the same page. So you can be in France and they may call it l'orange or whatever it is in France, and we call it orange or whatever. You may be in Spain and they call it something else. But when you get over here, we realize, okay, we all talking about the same color. We all have to have a basis to start off with. So I don't know if it's a fact, but it's something we have to be able to communicate to each other. So the opinion is strong enough to where everybody accepts it, it could get past its effect, I guess.
Okay. Last topics. What is right in your definition? Now, I'm not giving a Webster definition for this topic. What
I
is
struggle
considered
with
right to you?
I struggle with this a lot based on religious principles and morals and things. Right is whatever you can sleep with at night. Because right for a single mother with 3 kids might be lying on her taxes or stealing milk or whatever out the store. And she knows that it's not legal, but it's the right thing to do for her family. So right is based under that relativity umbrella as well. Right for a judge is based on the legal system or whatever they think in their mind is right at the time. So right is always relative to your situation. Just like there's wrong. And the thing that I don't believe in is superheroes and supervillains. I believe in people doing what's right for their circumstance and being not a victim of your circumstance, but a product of it. Because we do and think based on what we are going through at that moment.
Hey,
Right is something that is just something that I feel in my heart that is correct. You know what I'm saying? Not based on, and I guess you can say laws and stuff like that. It can basically can form an opinion based on what I think is right. You know what I'm saying? For certain laws or certain guidelines or beliefs or anything like that, what I consider that I would think is right. Uh, but in certain situations, I would think that it's not right in certain in other circumstances. I guess it's based on my situation, what I consider is right.
okay.
What's right is anything that does not infringe upon another human being's freedom or infringes on their property in some type of way.
So then you already touched on a little bit, but what is wrong in your definition?
Wrong is something that you can't live with. Wrong is something that you feel like you need to apologize for.
Okay.
Wrong, I would say is things that are ag- against the law and things in certain situations, and for as what I think is wrong, for as and for as my opinion personally, is for as like sadistic things and stuff that you see in the world, like uh things that are considered wrong. Are we talking about things that we I consider wrong, or wrong as a whole?
Things you consider wrong that takes up all the category. Whatever you might consider is not right, it's considered wrong.
Okay, but I feel like wrong is as I said, just things that you can't that you feel like shouldn't happen. You know what I'm saying? Things that you feel like that are morally wrong or a I would say morally wrong. Yeah,
Okay.
morally wrong.
Anything that removes somebody's freedom or infringes on their property, I think that's wrong.
Can there be a gray area where your right is still wrong,
Yeah,
or your wrong was right?
yeah. I think that there's a gray area for most things. Um, we like to close our eyes to a lot of circumstances and situations because it may not be right for everybody. So if, excuse me, if this girl is wearing tight skirts or whatever, it's wrong because we don't want our daughters to do it. She might be hot, so it's right for her. Or she might like to dress like that, so it's right for her, but it may not be right for everybody. So you can't categorize right and wrong based off of everybody. You have to go with whatever your situation is.
Slavery was right or wrong?
Wrong. You know, in my opinion, you're not supposed to take anyone against their own will and capture them and to make them do and work and you know use them for your own and especially to the things that from what we read in books.
It was wrong, but what if you were in the position of the people who were selling slaves, or you was a slave owner? Would you still argue that it was wrong, even though these slaves are the ones that are making your money, that are keeping the roof over your head?
Making money, I can't say that I would continue on, you know what I'm saying? But you also do things that you consider that you see what is in your circle. You know what I'm saying? So if you were brought up to think that that is right, then you would possibly think that it is. But as I say, me, I look at things differently, and when I see things being done, if I think it's not right, then I'm step up and say something about it. That's just my opinion.
So you would agree that there is a gray area in what is right and what is wrong based off the slavery analogy, that had you not been a slave owner, you would have considered it wrong versus you being a slave owner and seeing it as potentially right or okay.
Yeah, both topics. I do believe there's a gray area in what is right and what is wrong because I can see something for I can do something and you may think that it's wrong, but I may see that it's right based on my situation. I'm to go and take $20 out of this thing over here, you know what I'm saying, every day. I feel like it's right because hey, I don't have any food in my house.